and welcome to A Taste of Torah. I'm Rabbi Ruit, and our Torah portion this week is Parashat Vayigash. Vayigash takes a momentous turn in the Joseph narrative. After tormenting his brothers and threatening to enslave his brother Benjamin, Joseph finally reveals who he is, and the brothers reunite. The reunion is emotion-filled, but also tinged with a sense of unease. Even though the family discord that began the narrative seems to be resolved, there's a sense that all may not be entirely as it seems. We also learn in this parsha that Joseph's brother Jacob learns that Joseph is still alive, and the whole clan moves down to Egypt to wait out the famine. But what I find most striking in Parashat Vayigash involves not Joseph, but his brother Judah. Parashat Vayigash can be seen as Judah's redemption story. At the beginning of the Joseph narrative, Judah shows himself to be a real scoundrel. He's the one who suggests that they sell Joseph into slavery, and his reasoning is very transactional. He asks, what do we gain by killing our brother and covering up his blood? Selling Joseph instead of killing him allows the brothers to make a tidy sum at the same time that they get rid of their annoying and most favored brother. Quickly after Joseph is sold, we meet Judah again in the narrative about his relationship with his daughter-in-law Tamar. I talked about this narrative a couple of weeks ago in Parashat Vayishev, where we saw again how much of a scoundrel Judah could be. This is the story where two of Judah's sons marry Tamar, but quickly die because they do things displeasing to God. Judah promises Tamar his third son once he gets old enough, but then reneges on that promise and leaves Tamar in a terribly vulnerable position with no husband or son to protect her. In biblical times, a widow without children had no status in society and was completely vulnerable. But Tamar takes matters into her own hands when she dresses as a cult prostitute and sleeps with Judah, who doesn't realize who she is. Judah is ready to have Tamar executed for harlotry when the pregnancy resulting from their union becomes known. It is only when Tamar informs Judah that he is the father of her twins that Judah realizes he is the one at fault. That when he reneged on his promise and left Tamar with no form of security, he had done a great evil. This is a critical moment in Judah's narrative. It's the moment that he begins to take on a sense of personal responsibility, and it is the beginning of his redemption arc. Up until this point, Judah's behavior has been selfish, transactional, and calculating. But because of Tamar, he begins to change. He begins to grow and evolve as a person. And here in Parashat Vayigash, we see the man Judah has evolved into. Joseph had planted evidence in Benjamin's back and then accused him of a theft and threatened to enslave him. And Judah responds in a way we wouldn't expect, given his previous behavior. He pleads with Joseph to enslave him instead. He explains that Benjamin is very dear to his father, especially since his full brother, meaning Joseph, had died. He implores Joseph to not hold Benjamin captive, as it will surely lead to his father's demise. So the young man who was willing to sell his brother into slavery and break his father's heart in the process has grown into a man with compassion and integrity, a man who is willing to sacrifice himself in order to protect his young brother and aged father. talk about evolution. I find Judah's story so powerful because it speaks directly to the human condition. We all have the power to change, to grow, to evolve. But doing so requires taking responsibility for our choices and our actions, something that can be very hard to do. But with Tamar's help, Judah learns this invaluable lesson and evolves from a scoundrel to a mensch. Shabbat shalom.